I had a weird thought the other day. If everybody I've ever known showed up in my wedding one day, I don't think they'd all describe the same person. My neighborhood friends would tell me about the kid that spent all day outside getting into trouble, and my high school friends would tell you something completely different. My college friends would probably leave out a few stories for legal reasons, and church friends would be surprised about who I was and some of the other friends I was hanging out with. But that's the weird thing, they're all talking about me. You see, growing up, I spent most of my childhood outside, and I mean like all of it. My parents had rules about when people could come over, so every morning I'd hop on my bike and go assemble the troops for the day. Looking back, I don't even know how we really found each other. Like nobody had phones and nobody had was sharing locations, nobody was, checking in on you. Somehow we'd just appear. And within 30 minutes we'd absolutely be doing something we weren't supposed to be doing. We ding dong ditch houses and play capture the flag on the golf course and ride our bikes to the local pizza buffet. And basically, if there was a bad idea within 5 miles of our neighborhood, we would at least be considering it. I remember one time a golfer hit a ball into the rough, and I didn't know anything about golf at this time, so I picked up the ball and brought it back to him. And I genuinely thought I was helping, but he did not share that same opinion. But the funny thing is, back then I wasn't really trying to figure out who I was. I wasn't worried about purpose and I wasn't worried about my future. I wasn't worried about what people thought of me. The biggest thing I was worried about was just making it home before dinner. And I just existed. Honestly, there's something kind of beautiful about that. And then high school happened, and then I think that's when I started paying attention to what other people thought about me. Not all the time, but enough. I got my first job when I was 16, and actually, I thought my dad was taking me to get a car, and instead, he drove me around town making me fill out job applications, which was not exactly the surprise I was hoping for. But at that time, everybody was getting their licenses, and people were dating, and people had jobs, schedules, and with that came responsibilities. And without realizing it, I think we all started asking a different question. Not what sounds fun, but what kind of person am I? And if I'm being honest, a big part of my answer back then revolved around one person. There was a girl, and not in some movie kind of way, not in a dramatic love story kind of way. It's just a girl that occupied way more space in my head than she probably should have. That kind of person you'd spend all week looking forward to seeing, and the kind of person that could text you, "Hey," and suddenly your day got a little better. The kind of person where every conversation felt important. And if I'm being completely honest, when it came time to pick a college, she was a pretty big factor in where I ended up going. Which sounds crazy now, but if you ever been 18 years old, you probably understand exactly what I mean. But then college showed up. And college is weird because it's probably the first time in your life where you can completely reinvent yourself. Like nobody knows who you were in middle school. Nobody knows the embarrassing stories. Nobody knows your mistakes. You get to decide what version of yourself walks into the room. And what's funny is I thought I was following her, but somewhere along the way I ended up finding myself there. And it didn't happen all at once and not in some big movie moment. It just happened slowly. Through football games and classes, relationships, late night conversations, random Tuesday nights. The friends I met there, the traditions, the memories. And honestly, I think that's why I'm grateful for her now. Not because we ended up together, we didn't, but because she helped lead me to a place where I became somebody I wouldn't have become otherwise. And before I knew it, the school had become a big part of me, and those people had become a big part of me. And I just think, when it all started feeling normal, college kind of ends. Which still feels like a crazy scam to me, by the way. Like 4 years sounds forever until it isn't. But then came work, and work introduced a completely different version of yourself, and that's the professional version. The version that sits in meetings and acts like they know what's going on. Which is funny because most of us are still figuring it out. I mean, you spend 8 hours a day with these people, sometimes more, and yet they only know a small piece of your life. And they didn't know about the neighborhood kid or the teenager, and they didn't know what I did in college, and they just know the version that shows up for their first Monday morning meeting. And then recently, I found another group, and those are my church friends. And what's funny is some of the deepest conversations I've ever had have happened with those guys. And we talk about faith and life, purpose, struggles, and stuff that actually matters. But it's strange still because they know things about me that some of my old friends don't. And at the exact same time, they don't know the kid that used to ding dong ditch houses, and they don't know the teenager working his first jobs, and they didn't know the college kid trying to figure everything out. See, my church friends think I'm responsible, and my Discord friends have screenshots that would seriously hurt that argument. And then I realized something. Every friend group I've ever had knows a different version of me. The neighborhood kid, the high school kid, the guy chasing a girl, the college kid, the work version, the church version, the guy sitting in Discord at 2 in the morning. So which one is actually me? Honestly, I don't know if there's a clean answer. Because maybe growing up isn't about finding yourself, and maybe it's realizing you've already been 100 different versions, and every one of them has taught you something. The kid playing capture the flag, the teenager trying to fit in, the guy who thought a girl had all the answers for him, and the college student trying to figure everything out, and the adult now who's still trying to figure everything out. And the weird part is every one of those versions thought they had life figured out. Every single one of them was wrong, and somehow they all helped me anyway. But they're all me. And maybe some versions were better than others. Maybe some were a little lost. Maybe some were way more confident than they should have been. And maybe some were less confident than they deserved to be. But they all got me here. And honestly, maybe that's why growing up feels so strange. Because every few years you become somebody new. And somehow they're still all you. But maybe that's not the whole story either, you see, because when I look back at those versions of myself, the neighborhood kid, the teenager, the student, the guy starting his first real job, I realize something. None of those are the final versions. We are always changing. I'm still becoming somebody. And maybe one day, God willing, I'll be a husband. Maybe one day I'll be a dad. Maybe one day there will be another version of me sitting around a dinner table I'm telling embarrassing stories to them. And if that happens, that version of me will probably look back at this version of me right now the same way I look back at all those older versions, with a little appreciation, a little embarrassment, and a lot of grace. Because every version of us is just doing the best they can with what they know at the time. And maybe identity isn't something you find once, and maybe it's something you spend your whole life growing into. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it.